Good morning. I hope I put my title up there. This is Leviticus chapter 1. Leviticus chapter 1. We're getting ready to share in the Word of God a continuation of what happened in the book of Exodus. And in the book of Exodus, God carried out the plan using Moses as the person of contact to speak to his people. And there was such a personal relationship with God and Moses that they were friends. That God talked to Moses as if he was talking to a friend. And what I found out is that having completed the book of Exodus, it gave me a better, good morning, Lucia Chambers. It gave me a better understanding of how we are to relate with God. And getting into the book of Leviticus this is my first time approaching this book this way, one chapter a day. And I'm going to show you what God has shown me. It has been my meditation all day yesterday and early this morning. I got out here as early as I could this morning because of the heat. And I want to make sure that I do what I love, and that's share the word of God. All right, this is a continuation of Genesis flowed into Exodus. Exodus is now flowing into Leviticus. And this is what God is getting ready to establish how he wants things done. We're going to talk about offerings, which means sacrifice. That means that God wants something given that will cost us something. It had to cost something because what he's given to us was himself. And there is not enough money on earth to measure how much God is. So there's no price on it. So according to the book of Leviticus, so I thank God for the richness of his word, and I thank God for the simplicity of his word. Again, I say to you, you cannot just open this book like this and just fall on the page, because if the word starts off saying, and the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle, how did we get here? So you had to have gone through where God was before Leviticus stepped in. And I pray that you receive it as easy as God has given it to me. And I'm ready to share it with anybody that's ready to eat the word of God. All right. The construction of the tabernacle has been given. God took the time, and I had several sheets that I wanted to share. God took the time to show what all of this meant. And so right here, this is where we are right here. We're going to start talking right at this spot right here. That's where the burnt offerings are. In other words, when we come to God, the first thing we got to do is find out what it is. God has given Moses. So don't think that when God sent Moses he went up to the Mount Sinai, that he only gave him the 10 Commandments. No, God gave him instructions day and night for 40 days. And out of those instructions came what we're getting ready to talk about now. How to offer God an offering. All right, Leviticus chapter 1. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, what tabernacle? The part where we have the burnt offering, and then we go into the washing, and then we go into the shewbread, and then we go to the left side and the candlesticks, and then we go to the offering of incense, and then finally we get to, God constructed where the Ark of the Covenant was in the Holy of Holies. So that's the tabernacle. That's in all of the poles that was outside. The parameter of all of this stood outside, and the people lived in tents around that. So it's almost like the tabernacle, just for lack, so you can get an understanding, was like the courthouse, if I may say that. It's not, but I'm just trying to say, picture it. The people lived around it, but they depended on a word from God, considering that it was where all the people met. And I'm saying this so it can be easy, so you can understand it. Now, God at one time he was speaking to Moses from Mount Sinai, but now he has a place to dwell, and it's called the tabernacle. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle, this place he just had them build. And everything was made exactly the way God wants it. He gave instructions. And in his instruction, he said, I want this tall. I want this wide. I want this made out of gold. I want this made out of bronze. I want you to get the best wood and cover it and overlay it with gold. So everything is done now. And God approved it, saying, I like y'all, you followed my instruction, and I will set my approval on about sending this big cloud over this place. And that let the children of Israel know that God's approval, and he was among them based on what they had carried out. So we can obey God. The only way we can obey God is to stay within the recipe of God, which is the word of God. You can't go in you can't treat God's word like a ramen sale. Oh, I think I'll take this. Oh, I heard somebody use that. Oh, yeah, somebody told me that. You can't do that. God's word is precise, it's clear, it's holy. It's what he said. And holiness is only saying, I said it, I'm God, and what I said makes it holy when you carry it out. Then you become holy. When you do whatever I say, if God says, say up, now, and you speak the word up, then he said what you just said was holy. Why? Because I said it. Not because anybody can say the word up, but if God says say the word up, now that you said you agree with God, then that makes you a vessel that is to God as being holy. You are following God's instructions. Simon said, Simon being God, Simon said, back up the car. Then you get in the car and backed it up. Whatever God says, that's what we ought to do. But what we ought to learn is, what did he say? All right, let's get into this again, into this book of Leviticus. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, so God is in that dwelling place, just prepared for him. He said, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, you shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd and of the flock. So I studied, I said, okay, to me, just to hear that of the cattle, even of the herd and the flock. All of that sounds the same. So what was the distinction of, what's the difference between a herd and a flock? Now we all know, well, we should know what a cattle is, or what cattle, how to identify cattle. You're talking about animals that we use for the strength of them. We eat from these animals. What a cow provides. It provides transportation. It provides meat. It provides leather. It provides food. So you're talking about something very expensive. If you own cattle, then there's a lot of need for what you have. So God wanted them to understand that what you have is what I will accept. And we're going to get into detail of that. The difference between a flock and a herd, and it sounds like they're the same. But a herd, if you look at the word shepherd or herdsman, you're talking about somebody who's directly over a particular group of animals. These are mine. And a flock is saying that they all travel together. It was just a flock of animals, or sometimes we're talking about animals, but you could say a flock of birds. But right now he's talking about how the animals flock together, or they moved in the same direction together. But a herdsman or a herd is a particular animal that's under the leadership or being shepherded by a particular person. So I wanted to say this so we can understand what God is calling for and what he expects as these offerings are given. If his offering, this is the third verse, if his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. All right, right there. He said, now, if he comes, now why is God asking for a sacrifice? Why is God asking for an offering? Because he gave us his law. He said, when I give you my law, I have given you the things that I want from you, and I gave you the consequences of the things that I want from you. But with that, I know you. You got to have something to sacrifice, because you're going to break my law. So make sure you understand, if you break the law, you don't have to, but in case you do, you got to make a sacrifice. You got to bring an offering. You got to do something in exchange. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. I want a male without blemish. I want something that costs you something. Now, a male is a container of the seed. When you take a male, you're not just taking a male, you're taking a nation. Because in every man, God has put in him a bag of seeds. Now the man takes the seed, or the male takes the seed, and he looks for a female to give birth to the seed that he carries. That's why it's important, even as men. And God was talking about, give me something that costs you something. When you break my law, and when I gave you instructions, you ought to bring me something that, and let's find out what he meant. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. And it can't be crippled, it can't be blind, it can't be scurvy, meaning there's something wrong with the skin. It can't be, it had to be something that it had to be of price. You had to know that this was a good one. It had to be the best that you had. If his offering be a burnt, and also there had to be something that you knew the state of your flock. You knew your crippled flock from your healthy flock. You ought to know if God has given you to be an overseer, you ought to know the state of your students. You ought to know the state of your children. You ought to know the state of your family. You ought to know who needs support, who's healthy, who can do this. And God said, know your cattle well enough that if you bring me something, you made sure you brought me the best. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it with his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. In other words, God saw you when you broke the rule or broke his law, and he said, I want you to do this before me. I don't want you to go behind the door and apologize when nobody can hear you say it. I want you to say, I did wrong, and I want you to do it so I can see it, because why? You are admitting that you did it, because I saw you when you did it. He said, so when you bring an offering, I want you to bring an offering that bring it to the door of the congregation. In other words, let me see it. I'm not worried about what everybody else see. I want to see what you're going to say, what you're going to bring. And bring me the very best that you have. And he said, and he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering. In other words, you're going to take an innocent bull or animal, whatever it is that you're bringing. You are to voluntarily bring it. I'm not going to call the police on you. I'm not going to make a rule like Nebuchadnezzar and make you bow down to me. I'm not going to make you serve me. You got to bring that thing yourself. I gave you a place to bring it. I gave you instructions when you ought to bring it. And now that you're voluntary, this is not a word that is put in here so you can understand. This came from the mouth of God. You are to bring it because you are willing to bring it on your own. Nobody is making you do it. When you broke my law, you got to come before me willing to say, I did wrong. And you got to bring that innocent animal. That animal that hadn't done anything but carried your packages, fed you milk, made leather for your shoes, made a coat for your back, provided you with all the things that a cow can bring or a cattle can bring. All of what you have, something that you probably ate some steak yesterday, hot dogs and beef dogs and hamburgers and steaks and ribs, all of the stuff that this cow represents. He said, I want it. And it has to cost you something. That cow did not talk back to you. You couldn't bring me old rebellious cow. You had to give me something that was of value to you. And then he said, you are to take that cow or that offering and put your hand on the head of the burnt offering. And it shall be accepted for him to make an atonement. Atonement, A-T-O-M-E-N-T, atonement, at one, meant. In other words, you got to get back at one with me. You broke my word. You caused something to hurt somebody. Now you got to go get something that you can represent something innocent and lay your hand on his head so that you can get back right with me. And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord. Now he said, and you going to kill it. All right, let me stop right there. You take the innocent animal that you brought. You lay your hand on his head. And you going to take the knife and cut it. You going to kill it. And while you're touching it, and you're going to see how it feels through, it ought to be you. In other words, if I did something wrong, and here it is, I'm taking an innocent cow that did nothing. And then I lay my hands on it in exchange to God because I voluntarily said, Lord, I did wrong. And then I put my hand on that animal. And then when I take that knife and I go into his skin, and then when that animal begins to, all of the sounds and the movement that it makes, God wants you to understand that's how much it means to me when you hurt somebody. I want you to understand what that animal did. Nothing. But you should be the one that's taking its place, but I'm not going to allow it to be you. I'm going to allow you to bring something to sacrifice, to offer in exchange to let me know that you're not going to do that anymore. Or you're going to think twice before you do it. And you know, all I'm saying is, now in today, this is the Old Testament, God introducing what is to come, who is Jesus. That lamb that was sacrificed, every part of him, everything about him, his life was taken. But God has given us an illustration of what this is how it started out. And it just didn't start out here. Even when God gave Cain and Abel the beginning of time, they understood that when God said bring an offering, they knew how to bring it. But Cain decided, I'm not going to follow God's instruction. I'm just going to look through my purse, and I'm just going to pull out whatever, you know, in other words, whatever it is in my purse that I want to just give God. Take that, God. So I'm not taking it like that. You're not going to give it to me like that. You're going to go in, and you're going to see the price of what it is that I told you to bring, and bring that and that only. Otherwise, you got to do it over. God has always been merciful. And why is it that something had to die in place and it was understood? It wasn't just God's meeting the children of Israel here with that. By different religions or cultures, the way people did things even back then, they understood the law of seed time and harvest. They understood that except a seed die, it will not produce. But they had taken that method of taking life. Until God was like, these folks are out of order. They killing their children. Which they understood the concept. Something had to die in order for something to live. They understood that. But they so out of order until I got to teach the people how to give. This is not something new. But God is saying this is how you have to do it in place of what you did wrong. Go kill go kill something. Now God said, let me give y'all some order. Go get one of the finest cows that you have. Understanding what you did wrong, bring it to the altar. The first thing that you come into, and everybody can see it, I can see it rather. Put your hand on the head of that thing and begin to take its life, understanding it should have been you because you were what did the problem, but I'm giving you something that you can give in exchange. So then maybe when you walk away from here, you'll understand the price that you just paid. You just lost your family's meal, your leather, your goods, and every time you did wrong, you couldn't just give God anything. Well, let me just grab some. I just know he wants something. He said, give me something that you own. 4th verse, and he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering. It shall be accepted for him to make atonement, or atonement means to get right back with God. And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord, and the priest, Aaron's son, shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So God, this is not going to be done in secret. You kill it, and I'm going to give you some help. Aaron's son's going to take the blood. And once you get that blood out of that animal, that animal is dead. And they sprinkled that blood around that altar, indicating that whatever you brought, here's the evidence that it's dead. That means whatever you did you understand that that thing, God will not hold that thing against you because he sees the blood all the way around. And he said, if I go to the front, I see the blood. If I go to the side, I see the blood. If I see the south side, I see the blood. On the east side, I see the blood. And I understand that that thing that you did, you understand that I have accepted what you just took the life of. Why? Because I see the blood. And that's the same thing that he told the children of Israel when they got ready to leave Egypt. Put that blood on your doorpost. When I see the blood, when I see the life, because life represents, it's the same thing as blood. You take the blood out of anything, then there is no life in it. When I see that you have given the life of that thing, then I know that you and I are now back at one with each other. Whatever it did you sleep with your neighbor's wife? Did you dishonor your parents? Did you profane my name? Whatever it is that you voluntarily said, Lord, I'm sorry. Then God said, then bring the offering. Become one with me. But you got to shed some blood. That's how much I love you. That you gotta, if you take life, if you don't, then you're going to have to give up your life for the life that you just hurt. And that's the meaning of that blood that they had to sprinkle around that altar. 6th verse, and he shall flay the burnt offering. In other words, now he's talking about a bull here. Flay means I'm going to pull the skin off of it. This is for that bull. Now, I studied this, and I wanted to know what was so significant about a bull. Number one, it's a male. Number one, it's a dominant personality. And a bull just, I mean, just think about when Jacob was getting ready to leave his father-in-law, and he brought those different animals that he had to get, the speckled animals. Well, back in the day, he had to separate his animals from his father-in-law. And he brought them to this trial or this place where they would eat or would drink out of this thing that the cows were being given water or whatever they were doing there. I think it was water they was getting. The animals came up, and what they do to mate, and a cow would just jump on the back of a female cow. Now, when a bull, and I don't even know where I'm going there with that, but it came to my mind. But when a bull mated with a female cow, anyway, let me go back to, because I don't want to go too deep. But anyway, the price of a bull is more expensive than a female cow. The weight of what a man can do, and I brought that up in there, and I don't know why I brought it, some kind of way. So erase that part about, I guess because when I studied that, I saw that. But when the price of a bull came, the very presence of a bull, God said, the first thing I want you to do is to yank that skin off of him, flay it, and cast that skin outside. Go outside of the congregation, go outside of the tabernacle and get rid of it. I don't want that bull. And let me stop right there to say today, if God had a problem with the skin of a bull, he has the problem with presenting an offering with this bull now. The tough thing, the thing that had strength, the thing that cost a lot. He said, I don't want his skin. That's enough for me right there to say, why are we fussing over something God never did accept even from a bull? Why is it that we still look at how much color you got in your skin from, why we do that big thing right there? I don't know. God said, I ain't never accepted it from no bull, so don't bring me that bull. He said, after you take the skin off that burnt offering, cut him into pieces. That's you doing that. You doing all the cutting. You brought the offering. You did the sin. He said, now you take it. Now, I think the skin part, I think the priest might have helped out with that. But you were the one responsible to make sure that thing was cut right. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire. So they had a way that they had to do it. You just couldn't go in there, at the last minute to do this. This thing had to be organized. So they put the fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order on the altar. And the priest Aaron's son shall lay the parts, the head and the fat in order from the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. So everything they did, God had a certain way it had to be laid. But his inwards and his legs shall be washed in water. Why is that? Because when this animal used the bathroom, or when he secreted things out of his body, it ran down his leg. And God said, clean that part up. Take that skin off, get rid of that. But make sure that anything that's coming out of that animal, that secretes or comes out, whatever it is on the inside that comes, he said, I need you to wash that. You're not just going to put things on the altar before God. There's certain things that just had to be washed. But his inwards inside of him and his legs shall be washed in water. And the priest shall burn all on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, a sweet savor unto the Lord. Why did God call this a sweet savor? What did God get out of the smell of a barbecue, a grilled piece of meat on the outside? Why is that sweet smelling to God? And I asked God, I said, Lord, what was that? Because you continuously say throughout scriptures that was when this offering was made the way you said, and we did it according to how you said, that it was sweet. It was sweet to you. And he simply said, it wasn't the offering in itself. It was the fact that you voluntarily saw that you were wrong and you wanted to do what it took to make things right. That's what made it sweet. When I see that you have hurt each other, and when I see now that you're doing something to show in exchange of your hurt, that you're willing to give me your best, something that you owned, and that thing now is a representation of what you know cost you something. He said, that's sweet to me. When I do something that's not lined up with the word, and I go back and agree with my brother and realize what I did to you was not right, and I want to go before God, and God is saying, it's not the cattle that you just burned up. It's your attitude and how you brought correction to that thing. That's why I call it a sweet smelling savor to my nostrils. I love it when I see you all dwell together in unity and admit when you're wrong and then do something about it. 10th verse. And if his offering be of the flocks, so that bull was a different type of offering. God said, you got to flay that. Don't bring that to me. Don't come in here with all that fleshy stuff. Because it seemed like to me, now this is me talking, that if I own the bull, that means I kind of got some, because I had to give something of what I had. I couldn't own bulls and then brought God a different type of offering, like a poor man. Like we'll get to these different types of offerings. I couldn't just go out there and get a bird and bring it to God. I had to bring God something that cost me something. His 10th verse. And his offering, if it be of the flock, namely of the sheep or the goats for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish. So I still want that male. Don't bring me no female. Bring me something that got some seed in it. Because one man, my dad had 14 children, and his children had hundreds of grandchildren. And now the grandchildren are having children. And then now the great-grands, my dad's great-grands are having children. So that one man's seed produces so much. That's why God said, bring me a male and bring me something that costs you something. Give me something that nothing wrong with it. He said, but if it be a goat or a sheep for a burnt offering, he shall bring a male without blemish. And he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord. Now God is saying that if it's a goat or a sheep, you don't flay it. He said, don't take the skin off of it. I'm asking you to do this differently. And you say, and he said, not only bring me a goat or a sheep, and he said, he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord. And God said, not only will you bring me the sheep, you got to kill it. You have to kill it in a certain position. So I looked at that. I said, now, why is it that God had a particular place that offering had to be done at to me? I don't know. But there's one thing I do know. There are certain things that God says that we can't alter. For instance, when Jesus came and he gave us the regulations or the guidelines from God of what to do if you want a divorce, we have tampered with that thing, and God said, if I said these are the qualifications of a person that's getting a divorce, Jesus didn't argue with the people even after they came trying to prove to, well, what if did what? He said, I said what I said. He didn't say nothing. He just said that's what the word says. Except it be for the cause of fornication. We took it. We addressed it. And God said, except it be for the cause of fornication. He said, now you can leave her, but don't get married again. But we have taken the word of God and said, there's certain things that we're going to do anyway, God said. I mean, that's you. He said, but when you offer that sheep, it need to be on the north side. And don't flare. It's not up for discussion. There are certain things God is going to say, and that's just the way it is. But we don't know the word. The Bible says you do err because you don't know what I said. And you think I'm being mean. He said, no, I'm not being mean. He said, I know that the value of being married is something that you ought to think hard about. Because I don't have a lot of doors out of that marriage. When I bring a family together, that's one thing that's like me, and that's family. I don't want you going out of a door easily. Because if that's the case, you'll never understand the meaning of what I call life. So when I put that restriction on there, when I said sacrifice that sheep there are certain things I'm going to say that I'm not going to change my mind. And that came out of Jesus' mouth. And Jesus just went on. And he said, then if you do still want to be married, then go be reconciled with the person that you were married to. That's how serious it is. Just like he told them, take the sheep, sacrifice it, kill it in the north side. And he shall cut it into pieces with his head. Let's skip one. Oh, and he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord. And the priest Aaron's son shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar. He said, let me see that blood all the way around. And he shall cut it into pieces with his head and his fat, and the priest shall lay them in order on the wood on the fire which is upon the altar. In other words, put the wood down, lay it down right. We got to stop giving God, we got to stop going to the flea market and just selling anything and telling people this is the word of God. You know, we believe like this. Then another person, well, I believe like this. And I think you ought to be baptized like this. And I don't believe this. All of it, God said, I don't know who y'all talking about. Get in my word and find out exactly what I said. I'm easy. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs. Now you did that to the bull. Now you got to do this to the sheep and the goat. But he shall wash the inward and the legs with water. And the priest shall bring it all. He said, bring all of it. Bring me the whole sheep. Because what? Jesus came as a lamb. They didn't have to strip Jesus down in pieces and throw that part out. The whole sacrifice of the lamb. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water, and the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor to the Lord. He said, that's what you got. You don't have a bull, bring a lamb. And then when you bring the lamb, kill it where I told you to kill it. And then let the priest take the blood and let that blood sprinkle that whole altar. So when I see that blood, I know that you just gave life for the misbehaving thing that you did that was not like my word. But it has to be voluntary. I'm just telling you how to bring it. 14. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be a fowl. Now, based on what you had, what you could afford, what did you actually own, then that's what the Lord wanted from you. It had to be something of value. But if you say, well, I broke the law, but I don't have that much. God said, bring me what you got. Bring me the best that you have. And to these people, he said, bring a fowl, bring a bird. Then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. So both of those are in the same family. A dove, we use that as what we think that as being a delightful part of a pigeon or a family of a pigeon. But a pigeon, we just, I see them downtown all the time. And the priest shall bring it unto the altar. Now he said, now this is how you're going to handle that bird. And wring off his neck. And the priest shall bring it to the altar. And the priest shall wring off his neck. You go in a different way with the people that didn't have much. And burn it on the altar. And the blood thereof shall be wrung out of the side of the altar. You're not going to handle that one different. You're not going to handle the dove like you did the bull and the sheep and the goat. And he shall pluck away his crop. In other words, that thing right here, some people say that's the gizzard part, but it's the digestive system of the fowl. He said you're going to pluck away his crop with his feathers and cast it, throw it away beside the altar on the east part. God said, take that and take that to the east part. Don't take that to the north side. We already got that covered. You take that and take that to the east part by the place of the ashes. So everybody had to understand how God wanted it done, because he's just not going to bring God anything. You know how we go to the table with a fork go here, and the knife go here, and the plate go here, and the napkin go here, the glass go here. I'm just trying to make it so you can understand. God was saying, in order for me to accept what you did, look what you got to think about. You got to have all this in order. And he said, cleave it with the wing. In other words, you're going to take them two wings, and you're going to break it apart. But shall not divide it asunder. Don't try to cut the wing from the breast, from the thigh, from the leg. He's don't do that to that bird. We did it to the animal. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. So if a poor man saw that he had done wrong, and he brought that, then the priest would take that bird or that fowl from that man. Now, according to what I just read, the priest did that. Now, if I am wrong saying that you had to do that to your own bird, then I will come back and correct that. He said, bring it to the priest, and he shall do that. 17 verse, last verse. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. So you're not going to be cutting the leg and the wing and thighs on a piece like that. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice. It's a burnt offering. An offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. So what God is saying to us, that you got to go get something that was innocent and something that you own, just like me. You got to have something your very best. Anytime you acknowledge that you have done something to disobey my word, there must be a blood sacrifice. That's just the way it is. When you hurt life, the penalty for hurting life was to give life. And instead of God taking our lives, he said, bring me the best that you have during this time of the book of Leviticus. So you can understand something that was precious to you had to die in place of you. I will accept it. Why? Because you voluntarily showed that you were wrong, and you brought what it took in order to make that thing at one with me, an atonement. When you understand the price of sin, and what it takes, I want you to leave here knowing that don't bring me that again, because otherwise you got to go through the same thing again. And I understand today, like we have escalated sin to another level. In my estimation, I don't think that if God was to require that of us, I don't think there's enough birds, enough cows, enough sheep, enough goats. I don't think it's enough for all the things. I don't think it's enough. Because every time we did something wrong, something had to die in place of it. I think we'll all be consumed. Because we won't be getting any milk because all the cows will be gone. Can't wear leather because it'll cost too much, because you don't have much from the cows, or they gone, basically. So what Jesus said, in exchange, so you can understand the price of what it cost, that when my Father saw fit to separate me from him, to give you the very best, and I only do what my Father does. I represent everything he is. Grace was way before Paul discovered it. I saw grace in the book of Exodus like I never saw it before. That when these people sinned against God and made a calf to represent God and said, this is the God that brought us out of Egypt. And instead of God consuming or killing all of them, he pardoned them. He said, Moses said, who's on the Lord's side? And then the ones that said, I ain't on the Lord's side, he told the one that's on the Lord's side, get the sword and go cut him. We finna get rid of this dead weight. You don't want to follow God, get off this train. We on our way somewhere. So God is just saying to us that if we understood the price of sin, I think we would sin less. But even today, Jesus said, there's still order in me. You're still not permitted to sin. You still got to go to your brother and admit that you did wrong. You can't steal and then come before me and never get that thing straight. You got to get that thing straight. Because if you don't, then you're going to have to pay the life of something that didn't make any sense. So if you do anything, even me, if I talk too much, I understand how my relationship with God is so valuable to me that I want to limit the things that I say, because I want to be able to walk before God and understand clearly, what is your word talking about? What is it that I don't know? Show me, and show me how I fit into your plan. And what I've learned, and I'm done, is that, you know how we really say that I want to have faith in God? He said faith is not something that you obtain all at once. Faith is something to trust me. It's a day-by-day walk with me. He said it's just like you were born a certain length. You were born 19 inches, and now you're 6 feet tall. He said faith is evident throughout growth, about association with me. And the more you walk with me, the more you trust me. And I'm telling you, it's not that you walk up and I got faith. And he said, no, it don't work like that. Just like the hair on your head grew, faith grows like that. You see it over time. It increases over time. The more you walk with God, if you get in fellowship with a person and you spend time with that person, you know that person, what time they get up, you know what they like, you know what they don't like. That means that you can trust. If somebody asks you about that person, you can say that. Why? Because I spent time with them. So I understand that spending time with the Word of God is teaching me to absolutely trust Him. It's teaching me how to understand what He said and what He didn't say. That's why my faith is being developed, only because I'm getting to know Him. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the first time I ever read Leviticus, the first chapter. You can join me, because I don't know this stuff. It takes time to read it. It takes time to understand it. And I just love to bring you what I just found out. This is Leviticus, a continuation of what the Word of God is saying to make us better people. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye.